Richmond's Morning News with Rich Herrera on News Radio WRVA.
All right, 7:33 this morning on Richmond's Morning News. I might blow your mind a little bit here because I'm going to talk about psychedelics. So I'm old enough to remember my baby boomer hippie family members at psychedelics and the Summer of Love. And remember, I'm from Northern California originally, so they participated in all of that and Haight-Ashbury and all the rest. And that's one of the reasons why I've always stayed away from drugs, because I saw what happened to family members. And you remember, Dr. Timothy Leary and LSD and drop in, drop out and all the rest of that. So I've always just completely put my hand up like, I don't want to hear about that stuff. Keep that away from me. But I had an interesting conversation. So as I told you, full disclosure, I worked for a fellow and a family as a sports marketing director for their Major League Baseball contract in CBD. But they also had other businesses. And one of them was, and this is the true story, told him, "Oh, where do you live?" I said, "I live down in Tucson, Arizona." He goes, "Oh, there's good frogs down there to lick." And I'm like, "What?" And he said, "There's good, if you want to go take a trip." And I'm like, and he kind of explained it all to me. I'm like, okay, this is crazy. Then I read a book co-written by Dakota Myers. And I've heard from Gulf War vets that they'll go down to Mexico and have some alternative medicine. And one of those is psychedelics to help them break the bondage of PTSD. And now we're starting to talk about it more seriously. So let's welcome on John Eaton, the Vice President for Complex Care at the Wounded Warrior Project, and Dr. Jessica Keller, Associate Professor at Emory University, of this thing that most people would instantly, like I would, hey, wait a minute, stop. I don't even want to talk about it when it comes to psychedelics, but we're seeing some serious breakthroughs in helping some of our wounded warriors who carry that scar of battle that is invisible. So first of all, John, Dr. Keller, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, Rich.
Yeah, happy to be here today, and thanks for being open to hear about these things today.
Jessica, I was not open. First time somebody brought this up to me, I'm like, I just started thinking about my hippie aunts that were in Haight-Ashbury, and I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. But the more and more I see respected people that carry that wound of battle, PTSD, with them, and they're looking for something, anything, to stop the pain that they come back with. Tell us more about this, and let's at least discuss it before we instantly, like me, was closed-minded.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, because I think this is so important to have these conversations and get information out there about psychedelic-assisted therapy. So like you said, a lot of people have these connotations about, the hippie and or the summer of love. And what we're talking about here is quite different, where we're doing clinical trials. So we are screening people carefully to make sure they're a good fit for psychedelic treatment. This is pharmaceutical medicine. And the most important part, it's being combined with really good PTSD therapy. And like you referenced, we're seeing really exciting results for our warriors. And a lot of warriors really need something that's new and that's going to really help them get them where they need to be. So here at Emory, we've been doing psychedelic research for over a decade. And right now we have studies where we're looking at both MDMA and psilocybin combined with really good therapy for PTSD for our veterans.
John Eaton, Vice President, Complex Care, Wounded Warrior Project. John, this is a tough question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. For our wounded warriors, for our veterans out there, how much of an emergency, how big is this issue right now with people coming home with PTSD, or maybe veterans that have come back from the Gulf Wars and they've been back for 10 years and they're still battling PTSD on a daily basis, and no one's there to help them?
Yeah, when we go building programming, we do that based on what we hear from warriors. And what we know is that 7 out of 10 warriors today are experiencing symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, or depression. 50% have 2 or more of those conditions. And further, we all know of the statistic that's too sobering of 17 a day we're losing to suicide. And so we know that the need is great and the time is urgent in terms of advancing care. Traditional care works for many, but it doesn't work for everyone. And so what Dr. Maples Keller's talking about with these advanced treatments is really the next frontier of mental health care for veterans and the broader population. And we're sitting in this space of we'll see more transformation in this space in the next 2 years than we have in the last 2 decades. It's a really exciting time.
Okay, John, let me follow up with that. Now, again, I'm full transparent. I tell everybody this. I experienced just a touch of PTSD after having open heart surgery. They told me, Rich, you're going to have PTSD. I'm like, you're crazy. That's for people that have gone into battle. I didn't sleep for, I think it was 60 days coming out of and going home. So I've just got a little taste of it, not what these guys have gone through for 10 years, decades, 15 years. Why do we misunderstand? Why do we not understand how severe PTSD is as a culture and as American people?
Yeah, I think that you're very right. It's something that we see a higher incidence of a veteran and military population, but it's also a human condition, right? And so the way that we are exposed to different events throughout our lives and our body's reaction to them, I would love Dr. Maples-Keller's thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so sorry that you went through that, Rich. It's really hard. And I think that's you're showing one thing that people sometimes don't understand is that it's not just our veterans and it's not just our combat veterans, that anyone can be impacted by PTSD. And actually a lot of people go through traumatic events in their life. And I think it's something that's really hard to understand how challenging it can be until you experience it or until a loved one experiences and how experiences PTSD, how kind of debilitating the distress can be. And one way we talk about it in therapy is it can make your life a lot smaller, right? It starts taking away things from people that they really care about because they're trying to avoid these strong reactions or, having these big responses. So we really not only want to help people feel better, we want to get them their full life back and help them live the life that they want to.
I didn't understand while I was going through it. Literally 60 days, I did not sleep. I would stay up till 3:45 in the morning. I'd try to sleep. I'd be up at 4:00. I just could not let myself go because I've been so used to being in that intensive care unit, and I was afraid to fall asleep.
Yep.
It is, and you don't know you're going through it. And you don't understand.
Sorry. Yeah, and Rich, you're commenting on what many veterans tell us as well. And that's why it's important, not only serving the veteran, the family member, this, really could impact an entire household. And so I think it's also really key that, the front door to mental health is not always through a mental health clinical program. And so having this approach, a holistic approach and supporting connection, physical health, mental health, these are all different layers of how we support veterans through their journey.
And again, sorry, it's all bubbling up on me right now, so I get a little emotional. Dr. Keller, explain to us what the medical procedure of this, because it's not like, hey, let me get a veteran, we'll go out to the Arizona desert, you can lick a frog and go on a psychedelic trip. The folks that I used to work for, and their other company did this, they explained that we do have neural pathways, and some of this therapy will reroute those neural pathways to change the makeup of the brain to help you get past, to break those bonds that cause the PTSD.
Yes, definitely. So the psychedelics there's growing evidence that they enhance what we call neuroplasticity. And that's basically your brain's ability to kind of learn or be flexible or adapt. So one kind of analogy we use in the psychedelic space sometimes is, if you imagine like a hill covered in snow and you're going sledding, if you're having difficulties with PTSD, anxiety, or depression, your mind is used to going down the same path, right? You get stuck in these negative loops and, like kind of in the snow, if you've gone down the same path, then it wants you to keep going down that path. So we think about psychedelics as if you're kind of like taking a snow globe and shaking it up. So it kind of gives us this opportunity to reset things and give you about 2-week window where your mind is really able to think about things differently, to look at things differently. So that's why within our models, we do the dose of MDMA or psilocybin, and then we do really good therapy every day for 2 weeks. So really trying to maximize what people can get out of therapy. What it looks like, it certainly is not going to lick a frog in the desert, like you said, Rich. Quite different.
My aunts will be disappointed.
I know. Sorry to your aunts. So first, an important thing to know is we really carefully screen everyone medically and in terms of their emotional health. So one important thing to remember is while these are incredibly groundbreaking treatments, they're not for everyone, right? So we do a really thorough screen to make sure that it would be safe for the person to do. And then we bring people in. We also, we do a full physical, an EKG, blood labs, an interview, again, making sure that this is a good treatment. Once we know it's a good fit for someone, they meet with their therapist. So could be myself and another therapist for several hours to get to know them, to understand what to expect during the dosing session, how we can support them. And then the next day, we're in a room specifically set up for MDMA and psilocybin sessions here at Emory. And the two therapists, we are with them all day to support them through their experience. So we don't know what's going to come up. Lots of different things can come up. Different intensity effects can come up. And we just encourage them to be open to whatever comes up, and we support them through that experience. The next day they come in and share with us about it. And then we do really good therapy every day for the rest of the 2 weeks with them.
And again, I'm open-minded to it. I don't know. It's something that's emerging. I think you're still finding out more about it, but whatever we could do to help these wounded warriors. And I'm sure we'll get more long-term research, but I'll ask both of you if somebody wants to jump in here. There are veterans that are listening to us. There are loved ones with veterans that are suffering from PTSD today, and their loved ones are worried about them. What do you say to them? How do we get them help? How maybe this might be for them, might not be for them. What would you say to them, to folks that are listening to us right now?
Rob, you're 1,000% right, and really that's the mission of our organization, is to support those that you just called out. And so I would just say, feel free, whether you're a veteran, a service member, a family member, check our website, woundedwarriorproject.org, to learn more, to find out how to get registered and how to get access to these programs that are life-saving and life-changing.
Well, hopefully we will change somebody's life for the better today. John Eaton, Vice President for Complex Care at Wounded Warrior Project. Jessica Keller, Associate Professor at Emory University. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I hope maybe if we just touched one person today, then we did something good.
Totally.
Thanks for the conversation.
All right.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rich. It was really a pleasure speaking with you.
All right. Thank you so much. Big, heavy subject right now. Sorry, I started thinking that whole thing of, and again, mine was just a little touch of it. I probably shared too much on the program with you. But just that moment that I remember where I actually realized what was going on. I hadn't slept literally 60 days. I'd stay up till 3:45. I'd be up at 4 o'clock and just couldn't sleep. And I remember I finally snapped. I took a water bottle, smashed it against the wall, and I said, oh my God, something's wrong. I didn't know in that 60 days of not sleeping how bad it really was. So if you're a wounded warrior, if you're a veteran, it's okay. Reach out, get some help. All right. We'll continue with you. Coming up, Governor Gilmore will join us here on the program. We'll talk to him this morning on the show. I've got a whole lot more coming up for you this morning on Richmond's Morning News. Let me remind everybody, today's program is brought to you by Green